All right, it's about time. So let's start. Perhaps there will come some latecomers, but that's not a problem. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining me in this presentation. My name is Jeroen van der Wal. I'm a full-stack software engineer at the Rabobank, and I really love my job. I love the fact that we can build stuff, that we can solve puzzles, and that we can learn something every day. Again, something new. So I really love it. This demonstration will be quick-paced. I will show a lot of stuff, try to cover as much as ground as I possibly can. So there might be stuff that will be too quick, perhaps. I will share the Git repository at the end. So if you missed anything, you can find all the information there. So not to worry there. But then you know it will be quick-paced. A few months ago, my boss called me. I still remember I stood behind my standing desk at my home office. I was writing something down on the whiteboard and I was listening to some Simon and Garfunkel. And he was in distress. He said, Jeroen, we do have a huge problem. We need to create a dashboard that shows all who reserved a place during this Corona time in the office. And we need to have that dashboard tomorrow morning. If we don't have that dashboard tomorrow morning, we get a huge fine. Shit. That's a problem. We need to do something. But that's not my only problem. I have another problem. This morning, my daughter asked me if I could be at her dance recital this afternoon. And I already bailed on her 3 times because of some work-related issue. And the moment she asked me, I already saw the disappointment in her eyes. So I can't skip this time. But I need to create a dashboard. So the anxiety struck me. I felt my neck and my shoulders tighten. And my next migraine attack coming up. Not again. I started walking because sometimes walking will help to get some good ideas. Started walking, but I couldn't get my breathing under control and I couldn't find a solution until a moment. I thought about a project I did a few years back. There was a project I really loved. We used Thymeleaf together with Spring Boot to deliver value, and I was amazed by how quick we could bring something valuable to production. So I thought perhaps this is a solution. So let's have a look. First of all, I'll show you a little bit about what already is there. We already have a reservation service with the method get all reservations gives me a list of reservations. And in that reservation, there's an ID, a location, start and end time, a date, and an employee. And an employee has a personal number, first name, last name, phone number, email, all the things you would expect. There is already some data in the database because we, of course, knew already some reservations. So I'll show you that also. Let's have a look. So here's the. Oh, first I need to start the database. There you go, let's refresh that. So there's already some employees and also some reservations. So that's already there. I already have a very simple index.html with some bootstrapping and a table. Well, if you look at that on the website, this is what it looks like, and this is what we want to fill with the data that we already have. That's the task at hand. So, how to do that with Thymeleaf? And to give you a little bit of a background on that, what Thymeleaf is doing is when you do a get on whatever endpoint, for now it's on root, It will try to find the controller. This is what Spring is doing. It finds the controller, it builds the model is the data. It finds the matching template, and it generates the HTML with the template and the model. And that's what's called server-side rendering. And then it will return that HTML page rendered with all the data that you need. So that's what the Thymeleaf engine is doing, and that's the power of Thymeleaf. So let's have a look on how that goes in practice. First, what we need to do is to create a controller. So let's do a root controller. It's a controller, of course, and we have a get mapping. I don't have to fill in anything because it's on the root, so it will understand this. Get root. And I'm going to return a string called index. If you call this, it will not return the word index, but this is the way that the Thymeleaf engine knows what template it should use. So it needs to be the same as the HTML page inside templates, resources template. So this is index, I return index. To show you that this works, let's add some logging inside get root. Restart it. Then we go back to the page. Nothing changed, of course, but now you see here that method is called inside get root is logged. So we get into this method. You were already not doubting that, I assume, but we just know for sure. What we need now, I already showed you the reservation service with the get all reservations, and we need that one. So let's wire that one in private final reservation service. This is the reservation service. We need then, I'm using Lombok, a required args constructor, so it can inject this reservation service. We are going to get all the reservations, put it inside a variable, reservations, all reservations. So now in this method we have all reservations available, but now we need to bind it to the model. As we've seen here in the diagram, it will build a model. Well, that's what we need to do. We now have the data, now we have to bind it to the model. And we do that by injecting it via the parameter. We inject the model from Spring Framework UI. If you now add an attribute to that model, and we call it reservations, and we say that's all reservations, so we put in the all reservations there, we can use this in the template. So it's called reservations. That's the variable that we can use inside the template index. So now we've built the model. It finds the matching template, that's the index template, and then it will generate the HTML with the template and the model and return that HTML page. Well, let's see how that works. In the table that we have here, we have a table body. I'm going to tell with Thymeleaf, this is the tag that you're using, th each. So for every reservation inside the variable reservations, we are going to fill the columns. And we do that by using th text. And what th text is doing, I'll first put this in. It's in employee first name. There you go. What th text is doing, it will get this variable and put it inside this tag, in this td tag. So if something was here, for example, Jeroen, my name, it will remove that and replace it with the variable, the value inside this field. So that's important to understand. Well, let's do the same for the last name. So there you go. Let's do that. Well, let's do it a few at a time. Text is reservation location, date, start time, and end time. All right, so now we've replaced all these TDs with the value inside of here, and it will do that for every reservation there is in that variable reservations. So let's have a look. Let's restart the application and see what happens. There we go. A dashboard with everyone who made a reservation. This is exactly what my boss asked me. So I called him, I showed him what we've got. He was excited. I pushed it to production. I rushed downstairs, jumped into the car, raced to my daughter's dance recital. And when the lights got dimmed, I sat down next to my wife and I looked my daughter in the eyes and saw the glance and the joy in her eyes. And we had a great night. Of course, next day we came back to the office and my boss was still really excited, but it doesn't stop there. Of course, he wants something new, as we all know. He asked me to also be able to create reservations from this application, and who can blame him? What we are going to do now, because this is just the dashboard, we're going to create navigation, we're going to create a nice welcome page, push this dashboard in a separate page and add a form to create a reservation. So let's have a look on how that works. All right, so first of all, let's create a reservations page. Let's put that in a directory reservations, because we need some more in reservations, refactor. So now we have an HTML reservations, a template reservations. In that index, we don't want that table, we just want some, some bool text, whatever works. As you can see in this reservation, it doesn't understand the variable reservation because it was not bound to this template, it was bound to index. So we need to change that also. We're going to say, we're going to copy this one, make it a reservations controller. And then this is not get root, but get reservations. Also, this should not get on root, but it should get on reservations. So I'm going to add a request mapping on reservations. So this is where it all starts for this one. Get reservations, and now we're going to bind it to the template reservations. As you see, it's inside the subdirectory reservations, so we need to be aware of that. Reservation/reservations. Now it's bound to that HTML. And as you can see, it solves the problem. Now, in index, we are not using any data anymore. It's just static, so I can remove all this, remove the model, don't need the reservation service. Oh, sorry, don't click on the wrong one. Yeah, this one. So there we go. Another required args constructor that cleans it up a little bit. Let's restart it and see that it actually works. There you go, easy, super simple, but a great website. Let's have a look at reservations. There you have it. So there's the nice dashboard, and now it's under reservations. So now we need to create some navigation. Let's do that on the index side. And add navigation. So it's a button to home and a button to reservations. If you refresh it, these are the buttons. They don't do anything at this point. So we are needing to add the mapping to that. And we use the href to use that, and with an ampersand. This is for root, and this is for Reservations. So now, if you click this, this will go to /reservations. Let's have a look if that works. It works. But as you can see, here it isn't. So here there's no navigation. And of course, as good developers, we are not going to repeat ourselves. To do this, we can use layouts. Thymeleaf offers layouts, and we can say you have a static layout, and in there you can put some dynamic content. And that's exactly what we are going to do right now. So let's have a look, because we first need to create the layout. Let's say a directory layouts, and this is a static layout.html. And we are going to place everything that's there. I also need there you go, layout tag, and then we can say everything except for the card body. So here is static, and we have a section layout fragment is, this is dynamic content. So if you find a section that's bound to this HTML, to this layout, and you find dynamic content, put it here. That's basically what you're saying. So if we go back to index, and we are going to say here, let's remove everything from the body except for the dynamic content. There you go. We say here section layout fragment is dynamic content. Oh. Sorry. There you go. So a dynamic content, but now we still need to tell the Thymeleaf engine which layout file it should use, because you can have multiple layout files, of course. We do that by telling it where to decorate it with, and we say it's layouts / static layout. So now it knows, okay, I'm going to use this file, and I'm going to find dynamic content and place the content that's inside of this section into that layout. So let's see if that works. There you go. It just does exactly the same thing, and that's what we expect. It's not really that hard, but it works, and that's important. Can do the same, exact same thing for the dashboard. There you go. And we are telling it to section layout fragment is dynamic content. And put it here also. And also telling it where to decorate it with. So layout decorate with layout static layout. So we have a fragment dynamic content, so place this inside the layout. Now we should see something change. If we go to reservations, now you see this one is just the same, and it wasn't. Still one thing, here it's called dashboard, here it's called dashboard, but this is the dashboard, this isn't. So we need to change the card header, and we're going to do that with declaring a variable. You do that in Thymeleaf with thwidth. So width card header is, in this case, dashboard. And the index, we're going to say thwidth. So declaring the variable card header is welcome. Now, inside the static layout, here we have the card header. And it's hard-coded dashboard. But we don't want that, so we're going to say here in that h4 tag, text, what we used before. So put the text inside of here in that h4 tag, and it was called card header. So if we go back, now you see here's welcome, here's dashboard. So that's better. All right, so now we have the opportunity to build pages within a layout. Now we go to the next step. We are going to create a form where we can submit some data. So I'm just going to copy paste the reservations page. Then I'm going to say, where am I? There. Card header is create reservations. And we are going to remove everything inside that dynamic content and going to place there a form, not a farm, but a form. Just some information, personal number, location, etc., etc. I'll show you what it looks like in a second. So really easy to add some dynamic content, a new page with the static on a different place. So now we are going to add the link to it. Let's say /reservation/create reservations. But as you recall, this will do a get, and we need to catch that in the controller. So we are going to the reservations controller, and we are adding a new get mapping. Create. Again, we are returning a string. Get create reservations, and we're returning that reservations create. So this is what we are returning. This is the template that it will bound to. Well, let's see if it works. Restart the application. I restart if I do something in the controller or in the Java code. If I just do something in the HTML, I don't have to restart. If you wondering why I did that. Well, so now we have a create reservation page, and you can fill in a personal number, location, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't do anything yet. I need to bound it to a model. It needs to know what to send when you click submit. So this is how we do that. I'm going to add a model again. I'm going to inject that. And I'm going to add the attribute. Let's call it reservation. You can call it whatever you like. And I'm going to add a new create reservation form data object. I'll show you what that is. It's a really basic Java bean, or however you want to call it, DTO, with a personal number, location, a date, a start time, and an end time. That's exactly what's here. So personal number, location, date, start time, end time. So it's here. I have added some validations, and that's important because, for example, you get a date-time format and you want to have it year, month, date. If that is wrong, it will be saved wrongly in your database, or and you don't want it. And you want your database as clean as possible. All right, so I've bound the reservation to the new create reservations form data. So now, in the front end, it does know, in the HTML, it does know to which fields it needs to bind. But I need to tell it that. So let's do that. First, let's say this is a post. The ID is create reservations form. TH action. The action that you need to take is on /reservations /create. So do a post on reservation/create. And what we're now going to do is say th field is reservation. That was the object that we bound to the model, and there you have it, personal number. Since we are only going to use that create reservation form data, we can also use th object, and with that you are telling the Thymeleaf engine that from that point on you are using that object, so you don't have to write it out all the time. So you can use th object. The object I'm going to use is reservation. Now instead of using this $, I'm going to use an asterisk, and I can remove that reservations because it now knows of every field that I'm going to use is for that reservation object. All right, let's add it to all the other fields. I'll adjust the field names now. So this is the end time. This is the start time. This is the date. And we have a location here. So now it will get the create reservation form data object. It will, if you fill something in, it will bound it to that object, to those fields. Now we need to create the post method in the reservations controller. So let's say at post mapping, create public string, create reservation. We have a valid model attribute, that's how it's called. This is a model attribute, and we get a create reservations form data when you call that post method. So that's our input for this method. And then it's pretty simple because it's already in that service save reservations with that form data. It will save the reservations. And now we need to return something. We don't want to return again that reservation screen at this point. We could, but we don't want to. We want to redirect back to the dashboard. So you can see the reservation went fine. You do that by using redirect/reservation. So what this does is it will redirect, do another get call on what's behind the column. And in this case, it's on reservation, so it will get into this controller and to this method. You could also use slash and it will just lead you back to root, etc., etc. But using redirect, it will just do another get call on one of the endpoints. So I think everything is there. Let's have a look. Restarting the application. Gives me a time to take a sip. I need a valid personal number, so let's get that. Let's see. Gil Nietzsche. Of course. Will it be family? I don't know. All right, so copy paste that, go back to the application, to the create reservations, fill in that personal number. Let's say it's X9999. Oh, one more, yeah. The format 2021 11, it's 04. We start at 9 o'clock, of course, and as good employees, we'll finish at 5 o'clock. Hit submit. It returned us the dashboard, so the reservations, and as you can see here, the bottom row, it nicely added a row with this person and her reservation. So that works perfect. Other job done. Of course, it doesn't finish there. My boss asked me, can we now get some security because everyone can look into this application and we don't want that. Of course we can. We just need to add something to the POM and we just use Spring Security. There you go. Let's refresh our Maven. And basically, if I now restart it, this is already enough to get some basic security. We will expand on that, but it's enough for now. It will generate a dynamic password for the user. This is dynamic because it will change every time you restart the application. So it's not really useful, but it works. So if we hit user, that password, and will redirect us to the CSS. I don't know why, but it didn't load it completely. There you go. Okay, I think I was too quick. But as you have seen, you can't get into the application without logging in. But we don't want this dynamically generated password, so we are going to add our own users. And for that, we need to create a web security configuration. So let's call it that way. Security configuration. This is a configuration. It extends the web security configurer adapter, but this is how we tell security what to do, and we want to override one of the methods, and that's the configurer of the authentication. What we are going to do now is, just for now, we use in-memory authentication. I'll just write it down here in this configuration. It's the easiest way to do, but you can connect this to your LDAP, you can connect this to your Azure Active Directory, you can connect it to OAuth 2, you can connect it to everything you would like. It's all there. For now, we're just going to use this for demonstration purposes. User is Jeroen. I'm just a user, and my password is secret, so I won't tell you. It will not accept a hardwired password like this, so we need a password encoder. Let's say password encoder factories, create delegated. This will just return one of the password encoders with one of the normal security algorithms. I don't really care which one for now. So we have encoded our password, and now it will accept that. Let's say this is final. All right. Let's restart, see what happens, because now we should be able to log in with Jeroen and the password secret, and we shouldn't get a dynamically. There you go. We didn't get a dynamically generated password. So let's have a look. Jeroen, secret, and we are in. So this also works. But the login page, I don't know if I can show it again. Yeah, this is not the look and feel, of course, that we have for our website. It doesn't look like it at all. So we want our own custom-made login page. So let's do that. Let's clean up a little bit. There you go. We are going to create a template login.html. It's just a simple login. What is important here, we do a post on login. This way, Spring Security will pick this up. I don't have to create a post mapping. I don't have to catch it anywhere in a controller. For that, it's really important to have the name correct. So you have a username and you have a password. So that's really important. What we do need to tell security, Spring Security, that we want that page to be used. So we're going to override another method, the HTTP security. So HTTP dot authorize request matcher. I'm going to tell you what I'm doing right now. Path request to static resource at common locations permit all. Any requests? Just a sec. Authenticated. All right. So what I'm telling it right now, because I'm going to add some security layer, I'm going to tell that it should permit any call to static resources at common locations. And that means that any call to your CSS files or your JavaScript files, etc., will come true. Because otherwise I can't style my login page. So that's really important. So I'm permitting all calls at common locations. Any other request is authenticated. So everything else needs to be authenticated. So now with the end form login, we want to use the login page on /login. And we want to permit that. So you are able to get to the login page, of course. This does a get on /login. So we need to add a login controller or whatsoever to tell which template it should use for that. So let's do that. Login controller. This is a controller. It has a get mapping on login. Again, public string get login. It will return that login page. But what if you are already logged in? You don't want to be able to get to the login page again. What would happen then? To prevent that from happening, we can inject the user here. We use the authentication principle from Spring Security. It's a user details. That way we can find out if this user is already logged in. So if you get into login, and then if is logged in, that user, return redirect to the root. So then I just want you to call root again. Otherwise, you can return the login template. So is logged in, it's pretty simple. It's just user not equal to null. All right, so this way, if you go to login and you're already logged in, then you will be redirected to the root. Otherwise, you get the login page. I think I had everything, so let's have a look. All right, there you have it. Our own custom-made login page, and I can log in like that. So that's really nice. Now, another nice thing to show you is if you go to something that's not an endpoint, you will get a white label error page, and it is ugly. But you already knew that. We're just going to add a error page, and that's really simple. What we are going to do now, in the templates, we're going to create a directory error. And inside that directory, let's just copy paste the index and say is 404.html. And basically, that's it. I will add some message here. Sorry, something went wrong. And the card header is, of course, oops. And let's see what happens now. Oh, let's refresh first. If we go there, we get the same. Let's restart. Log in again. And now go to... Oops! Well, I don't think it's simpler than this. We now have a specific 404 error page. If you want to have it for the whole range of 400s, you'll just call this one 4XX. And it will just do that for all the errors within 400s. So that does work. All right. Another thing that's really good to know about, or something that I really like about Thymeleaf, is the use of fragments. Because if we have a look here, and that's something that annoys me all the time when I'm working in HTML, we have a lot of code that looks the same. So we have here a label and an input, a label and an input. Let's have a look at how much time I still have. Oh, I have enough time. A label and an input. So replication, and we don't want to repeat ourselves. And we can do that by adding some fragments. So let's do that. Fragments. And we're going to call it, let's make it an HTML file. Input.html. So there you have it. I need to add the h tag so it knows where to find that. There you have it. And now div th fragment is input. Let's call it that. And now we can very simply, let's just start with just one field and work from there. Add a fragment, an input fragment. For now nothing is in there, but we can just here say div th replace. So replace this div, this tag, with fragments slash input input. Now if we would delete this one and we would go to the create reservations, let's refresh. It's still there because it will wire in everything that's in that fragment. But now we want to reuse that because we don't want all the fragments to be the same. So let's have a look. We need to have an ID. So we fill in, there's an ID. And we say here th4 because now it needs to generate this. It needs to render this. So that's why we need to set th before it. So now the Thymeleaf engine knows, okay, I need to do something with this. So this is the ID, and this is also the ID. We have a text. It's the same as the area label, so let's call it label. Yeah. And change that to a th text here. Th text is label. And also here it's label, th in front of it. All right, a placeholder, placeholder, th, placeholder, and typo, let's keep that, well no, let's just change that also. So we also want to be able to give in a type, and we say this is type. There you have it. So now we're going to do the same thing again. Div th replace is fragments input. I'm just doing this way because now it will give me all the fields already there. I don't have to type it. Just a bit lazy. We have here the ID is, what was this first one? Personal number. So ID is personal number. Not sure if I do this correct. Label is personal number also, yeah. Oh wait, I'm missing one N. So there you go. Doesn't really matter at this point. A placeholder is, I thought it was 9999. Let's make it 888 so you see it's changing. And the type is, it's a text input. All right. Well, let's have a look. There it changed to 8888. Oh, sorry, it's not text, it's a number. Number. There you have it. So this way you can use fragments. I can reuse this one also for this one. So I'm not going to show you all this because I think that's pretty obvious, but that way you don't have to repeat yourself. This is a great way to do that. You could also say our normal input is a text. But if you want, you can use a number. What you do then, this is all mandatory. So everything inside this fragment is mandatory. But what you could do instead of that, using the th with again. So it's setting the variable. And what you just tell it now is th with type is. And interestingly, if there is already something in type, use that, and otherwise it's text. So this means that if you have filled in type at some point, you can use that, otherwise I will use text. So this is the way the optional variables are used. I just had a message that the time is almost up. Are there any questions at this point? I understand I went really quick and I don't have much time for questions, but perhaps you have any questions?
Maybe a short one.
Yeah?
This header text, maybe I missed it, but you put it in all the files, but it's also in the layout file, isn't it? The header tag.
Yeah, you mean, oh, so you are asking the header tag is also in the static layout file. This is what you mean?
No, it's below line 7 to
Oh.
14.
Oh, this, the head. Yeah. You need to put some information in here. If you, I think, I'm not sure, it's nice to try, but if you don't have, for example, the title in there, something goes wrong. You can use variable titles, for example, using message, internationalization, those kind of stuff. But there are some mandatory fields. Not sure which ones, but...
Now they are in all...
Yeah, yeah, correct. Yeah, that's correct. But you need to fill in some point. Last question.
Does Thymeleaf support or work well with Ajax functionalities for dynamic?
I have not tried it, but that's just that's using JavaScript, right? Yeah, I think it should, because you can just use all scripts, JavaScript that you would use normally. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. It has great ways to use whatever JavaScript you want. Yeah, so I assume. I haven't tried it, but I can't. Yeah. I can't imagine why not, but thank you. Okay, well, that is it. I will show you the QR code. You can scan it. You get some contact details from me, but also the GitLab repository with all the information. I will also push this code base there. It has some links to other documentation, but also documentation for everything that I have done so far. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask it afterwards. And for now, thank you very much for joining me in this session. Thank you.